At OSIsoft, I'm responsible for our global footprint and power generation and how to apply data, information, and advanced analytics. And basically, I get to evangelize the use of information around the world. It's also a great position to be in, as I get to see what people are doing all over the world. I get to see people, what they're doing in China, in northern China. I get to see what people are doing in Australia. I get to see what we've done here in the United States, and we all get to share these ideas. And I think this sharing of the ideas has greatly advanced a lot of companies and putting them on a path to digital transformation at a much quicker pace than probably they would do if they started from the beginning.
From the ground up, yeah. Well, I was really interested in what kind of things you got new that's cooking over there.
So within the Pi system, many years ago, it was basically just the best historian there was in the market, right? And I say that lightly, but it was. I mean, it's used everywhere, and it was the data, and then everyone has to consume that data and how you use that data. So our focus for the last several years has been not only being able to put that data into context, and then be able to condition that data in a real-time stream. So what we're doing mostly now is associated with being able to see where should analytics actually be. Because with the IT hype cycle of everything is big data, we've seen a lot of people go down a path that's created basically some data lakes and some data swamps, and not getting the value of what they're trying to go after, when actually there's layers of analytics that you can do that provide the highest value. So there's going to be layers down at the edge, there's layers at the streaming area, and that's where the OSI Pi system really fits well, is that we sit there and take all the data that you can collect, and then we can condition that data. So you can transform your real-time data around, let's say, a feed water pump, but you can transform that data to add additional information, like how many times has it started and stopped? What's the longest time that it's ran? What's the total time it's ran? By using markers and calculations within the data stream itself, I can create new data. That new data can be used for direct analytics and condition monitoring and such, but then also could be used to feed into other applications and into big data systems. So the idea of being able to do the right data at the right place, I think it's very much more consumable for the actual end user, especially if that end user is an engineer and not an IT department, right? And so we've worked very hard at using our tools and making our tools being able to see not only do how I visualize data, but how do I use and consume and interact with that data. And now beyond that, I'm interacting with what we call event frames. I'm interacting with these calculations as well. So giving the user like a self-service BI environment to his real-time operational data is basically our sweet spot.
That sounds good. The website is called Houston Energy Industry News. So in Houston, we're very concerned about energy.
Yeah.
Do you have any target markets or applications or segments that you have for the energy industry?
Well, we actually have quite a big footprint of industry clients in Houston. We have a corporate office also in Houston as well, which we do training and such. Many of our clients there are, Chevron and some of the larger oil and gas companies, Shell. Many of them have hubs there, and so that's a lot of our core. But we're also into electric and power generation in that area as well.
Great. One of the things that I like to look into is analytics.
Yep, me too.
And your program, when I used it, it was a historian.
Sure.
What kind of analytics do you want to use as far as, do you want to do statistical process control, or
we actually try to stay out of control itself.
Trend lines or modeling equations? I'm reaching for straws here.
Yes.
Oh.
So there's different kind of analytics, right? So some of them are quite simple. Like, let's say you're looking at a temperature rise on a bearing, right? And historically, you can see that rise, that rate of change is not more than, let's say, 15%. It normally never gets hotter than 15% on a rate of. So I can do a simple rate of change calculation on that value that says, send me an email when rate of calculation is now at 17 or 20%. Because now I know it's getting hotter than it normally does.
Alerts.
It's getting faster. And I'm going to take that mathematic and have it go straight to my phone. Boop. I can now click on it if it's important. I can click on it. I will actually automatically launch me into the visual application of that data that's happening at that time on that piece of equipment or system. So there's some simple type of calculations that we can do that aren't big machine learning and all that, but that augment that. At the same time, I can do things called event frames and say, I want to know every time that pump has a disk cavitation. I want to know every time it has high vibration or high temperature, or maybe if it has a low discharge pressure. I can put those traps into the Pi system, into the live stream, and now I can build that data set that's going to say, now, if I mine that with our tools, I can see, well, in the last week, I've had 120 disk cavitations, I had 3 high temperatures, and I had 4 high vibrations. Now, that's not the actual raw data, but it's data derived from the raw data, and it's being systematically derived. So the system is making this for you. And now I can use that data in concert with all the live data and the live trends to say, what is the health of this piece of equipment? Is it something I need to look at? Is the oil cooler kind of not doing its job right now because the filter's kind of clogged or something, right? And having that early warning within that live data stream is super important to both our power customers and our oil and gas.
Well, that sounds fantastic, David. Hey, thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.